Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedacca, and you're listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sedacca on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And as you know, every time I do this podcast, I'm talking to divorce experts, people who are experts in the field of divorcing as a parent with children so that you can do the best you possibly can to protect your children before, during, and long, long after divorce. And today I'm very excited to be introducing you to a mediator who has so much to share with us about the value of mediation, which is something that I strongly endorse in the Child-Centered Divorce Network. So I'm introducing you to Abbie Godles. And Abbie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, definitely. So I am actually an attorney mediator. However, although I hold my license, I do not litigate because as I was going through law school and getting a chance to take the family law, just actual course about family law, I was also then introduced to the family mediation course. And in taking the kind of two halves of the one coin, I really found a passion. And so I have really, since law school, when I was actually taking the mediation training and got my certificate, I made the choice then that I both wanted to pursue family law, but that I did not want to pursue litigation because I did see not only how powerful mediation could be, but the exact opposite, how harmful litigation can be for the average family. Importantly, I will note there are certainly still cases that do require court, but I definitely, like you, I encourage and endorse mediation whenever possible. And so I do really position myself more as the mediator over attorney, but I do bring it all to the table. And I actually also, just as the last bit of my background, the cherry on top, I did also, after law school, pursue my master's in forensic psychology with an emphasis in family violence, knowing where I was taking my career and really wanting to make sure I had all the expertise so that no matter who came in my door, from the most straightforward, easy to high conflict to actual violence, that I would have all the legal and psych side of the knowledge to really do my clients the best service I could.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. And I so value and appreciate what you're talking about today because as founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, I like to steer my clients to thinking about mediation as the best option for moving ahead and handling the legal options that are available to them because it does the least damage emotionally and psychologically, and it covers everything you need to cover, and you're getting a very customized outcome that's directly connected to your family's needs and parameters. Don't you agree?
Oh my God, yes. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, I would also argue it's the least harmful on your pocketbook as well.
Yes, important
But
point.
no, everything you said is everything I love about it. I mean, I hope that, even though I'm biased, that our conversation does, get all the listeners out there on our same page because the unfortunate part of court is not that the judges don't care, it's that they are trapped by a very busy, busy schedule. Mediation not only allows families to who know their situation best anyway to really own and, like you said, customize and craft these creative, unique agreements, but you also just have better time, freedom, and flexibility that you wouldn't get in court. It's such a unique realm too within the family law world because a bonus that I'm sure you are aware of, I don't know how much you've talked about on your show, is that not only do you have the main mediation, but the bonus in the mediation space over litigation is you can bring in other professionals and make sure that as you create these agreements, they are the strongest across industries. It is not, even if you're bringing in these other industry experts, it's still not going to be the same expense and burden that bringing a full expert witness into a litigated fight is going to have. I mean, even when you're spending a little more time and a little more money really making sure that your mediation truly brings in the players and agreements that you need to see, it's still going to be quicker and less expensive than court. It's just, to me, all around the right answer.
And I agree. So there's a few options and choices that parents have when they're going into mediation. Can you tell us a little bit about the various choices? Because some mediation involves two mediators, one for each parent who's in the divorce, and others work with both parents together, etc. So give us some clarification on that.
Yeah, I'll speak as fully as I can. At the end of the day, though, mediation brings so much flexibility to make sure it's what you need it to be. So some broad strokes are, like you mentioned, is there going to be one mediator or two? If it's one mediator, is everybody mediating in the same room, or are the parties in their own rooms and the mediator shuttles between them? Are the parties represented by attorneys, or are they fully coming to mediation self-represented on their own? While I am certainly a champion of really trying to mediate your entire divorce or custody matter, you can do that in one of two ways. You can agree to mediate and get all of your ducks in a row before ever going to court, or you can start the court case, but let them know that you are going to try mediation first. So can you kind of, pause, please, and let us detour for a moment? There will be, again, while I do encourage you to try to mediate all of it, there will also be times, attorneys or not, but I usually see this more often when there are attorneys involved, that, you've gotten as far as you can, you're still looking like you're headed for trial, and the attorneys really encourage the parties to say, hey, let's do mediation just to get over this hump on these last few issues and really be able to avoid trial. So there will be times that you choose or just only require to mediate more limited specific issues over the whole shebang. There will be even, I am personally, I know we've linked up through the Divorce Coalition, who is out there championing knowledge and advocacy for domestic violence. And so there will also be mediations that, for domestic violence cases, again, not all of them will be suitable for mediation, but importantly, there is a large chunk of the population, professionals or otherwise, who do assume that just because DV has been an issue, that automatically means you can't mediate or seek an alternative. And that's not true. So importantly, just because you have high conflict or actual violence, don't immediately disregard some of these other options. You will be able to, if you get to the right mediator, they will perform a domestic violence screening and confirm whether your case would still be suitable for mediation. So in those times where there is violence, but it is still of a nature that mediation could be appropriate, there will be other either styles of mediation or just restrictions and safety rules that can be put in place. So that will be things where, there's more professionals involved, making sure that, both parties are safe, that the perpetrator is encouraged to, hopefully within the mediation as well, but that the attorney is encouraging them to seek whatever therapy and healing they need to find. Similarly, what the victim survivor needs to empower themselves, that can be brought into the mediation space as well. You can do other safeguards, if you are mediating in person, making sure that the space has, that there could be two rooms, that there's security as might be needed. If you can dream it, it can be built into your mediation.
I love that. So it's very personalized, very customized, adapting to the needs of that family. And I think that's so important. And you're talking to people whose goal and function is to create a win-win outcome for everyone involved, as opposed to this win-lose attitude that I hate about litigation. I don't believe that divorce should be about someone winning or losing. When you're dealing with family law, and especially when children are involved, you certainly don't want anyone to walk away feeling that they haven't been heard and valued. So mediation really is a solution that makes people walk away. You don't get everything you want in life ever. And in mediation, you don't get everything you want, but you get heard and valued, and you get to acknowledge the outcomes and the solutions that you feel will work and fit for you. Is that correct?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, like you said, unfortunately, across life, we never get everything we want. This is a great place to really feel empowered that, yeah, even if you are working towards a compromise, you're each getting to really get heard and understood. I always tell people, I feel like I'm up on the roof just shouting it all day, every day. Especially when there are kids involved, you're always going to be a family. It's going to be restructured, but you are very much still a family. Why give your pennies away to attorneys? Why waste your breath until you're red, blue, whatever color in the face, just to get the, like I think of the cartoon characters with the steam, just to prove your point. Like, all you did was spin your wheels. You didn't get anywhere for you or your family. You took funds away from your family. And, especially all adults can become childlike when, if you're in court at that trial and the judge steps in and says, I've heard both of you and this is how it's going to be. Who doesn't want to, stomp their foot in a bit of a tantrum? You're an adult. You don't want to be told what to do. Well, mediation ensures that there's going to be a give and take. It might take a moment to get to the agreement, but you are going to be able to test out agreements if you need, rework and come back to the table to talk it out further, and make sure that the agreements that even if you are having to compromise a bit, that you're not just throwing away and giving yourself the loss basically by refusing to compromise. You're still going to maximize agreements for everyone, and you're going to be more likely to stick to it, having sorted through the less desirable options.
I think that's so well said and so true, which makes mediation so valuable and desirable, especially when you're talking about divorcing with children involved. Abbie, can you talk about the value of mediation when creating parenting plans? Because that's a very complex issue with lots of pieces, and mediation just seems so ideal for handling all the nuances of moving ahead with a parenting plan and the flexibility one needs in a parenting plan.
Yeah, that is a great question. And again, I mean, mediation, somewhat of the things I just discussed, where for the parenting plan, there are a lot of details that need to make their way. And oftentimes there are moving parts that do further complicate the already convoluted, like making sure everything, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So mediation does a couple things. Number one, as I was just talking about, the ability to kind of experiment and test out agreements. So if you are, for neutral or colored reasons, just unsure whether a certain agreement actually is practical and will work, you can take the time because you're not constrained by the court's calendar, and you can make sure that you take, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes to kind of see how the plan works or doesn't. Use that to then come back to the table and make changes as needed. Again, even losing that 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to be still ahead of whatever the court would have been, however far out they're scheduling. And the other thing is that in the time it takes to do the back and forth, to do any of the let's go test it out, it also allows you to see any gaps that you may not have considered. Because no matter what state you're in, there are going to be certain minimum requirements that the courts need to see. But that's not to say that, again, you can't, even when you're litigating, that additional agreements and details can still be put in as may be needed. So this is your chance where if something's not required, but then you're actually testing out the reality of things and saying, oh no, we need to address this because, that's not for the normal average family, but it applies to our situation. And you're able to catch some of these things and make sure they make it into your parenting plan before it could become some bigger headache down the road. Why risk any kind of confusion or ripple down the line if you can get ahead of it now? Similarly, with the tougher cases, whether high conflict or true violence, it really ensures that whether it's separate therapy and counseling provisions or truly tied into the different parenting time and decision making and other like of those bare minimum requirements, but that you are able to address these ancillary issues as they relate specifically to the kids and your guys' co-parenting thereof.
Wow, that's so important, and it obviously makes mediation such a wonderful, flexible medium for working with all the dynamics in the families. That's why I have such respect for it. Is there anything that we've overlooked so far that you wanted to mention about an asset that mediation offers families?
I'm really not sure. I mean, we're getting into all my favorite, juiciest topics. It's just, to me, no matter the circumstance, it is so empowering to take charge of your own decisions, even in this scary emotional time. Again, especially when there's kids involved, whatever tensions beyond the immediacy of the divorce or breakup, this is also an amazing chance, even though it's not counseling, it's not therapy, but the nature of sitting down at the table and collaborating in your agreements and discussing together with or without the help of attorneys. To me, that is such a healing point, no matter the situation. It's going to make you better communicators as co-parents. It's going to, you know, I know the gold standard is that you can actually become friends with your ex, and that's not always possible, but it's at least going to reduce the friction. It's going to put you back on at least neutral terms and help you heal in those ways to at least be prepared to successfully co-parent. Because unfortunately, after litigation, you're kind of just left spinning from just the overwhelm that court was. You don't always know where to go, or that you're even as like upside down as, you feel a little off kilter, but you don't even realize. Mediation is just this calmer, I kind of think of my mom raising me as the hippie with like the kumbaya approach. It's us sitting down and holding hands and making nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, again, no matter the situation, kids or no kids, animosity, violence, whatever the details, consider mediation, please.
Well, I totally agree with you, and you make some very strong points. Before we go any further, I want to make sure people know how to find you. So can you tell us what services you offer and where you are?
Definitely. So I am out of Arizona. I am only licensed in this state, so I would only be able to help my fellow zonies. Although if you're out of state, hit me up because I very well may know someone in your area. Not to say I can't be of assistance in a referral capacity. You can also find me. My website is modernlegalsolutions.com. My Instagram is at modernlegalsolutions. And then while that is kind of my overarching theme, because I do offer a few different services that kind of encompasses all of them, my actual business is called Mind Your Manners Mediation. So you can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn under my company name.
Wonderful. So that's really important for people to know and understand. You make so many points about the difference of being in a court in litigation. And even if you're choosing an attorney who's not going into litigation, but they're not mediators, what are the nuances and the differences in the outcome for you if you're not using mediation per se?
So if I'm understanding your question, I mean, attorneys can be really helpful in a lot of ways. If you are going to bring an attorney into mediation to make sure you have the best chance at the successful outcome, the trick there is going to be to look for attorneys who are collaboratively minded. They may be trained in the actual collaborative process, but when I use collaboratively minded, I am using it as the English word that they're problem-solving attorneys. If you need to have a fight, they will help you have that fight, but they are there to see where your situation is and what help is going to make the best sense for you. And so, I mean, even if you're going to litigate, you still want an attorney who is going to mitigate the fight, who isn't going to stoke the fire, because you're going to waste time, you're going to waste money, you're not going to be able to heal your emotions. You're just going to stew in your own anger and sadness and whatever other of those negative emotions you're going through. I mean, similar with the mediator, if you have a very specific issue that is kind of the biggest issue in your situation, whether that is something related to the kids, whether it's substance abuse issues, whether it is even something like a family business, you can also look for this. More goes to the mediator, but again, to the extent that attorneys come from all backgrounds as well, find someone who has the background to bring the knowledge and skill you need for your issues. You can find, again, great people out there. The other thing I should make sure to note is some states require mediators to be licensed attorneys. Other states don't. And so that can also impact the outcome, but not necessarily positive or negative. There are pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an attorney mediator, whether it's required or not, they're going to for sure know all the legal aspects. That may or may not be best for you. You may, like I just mentioned, need a different expertise, a different background nuance. And so you definitely want to just look into that. If a mediator truly has no legal training, you may, depending on your situation, question whether that is ideal. Maybe you do need someone who really just knows the law, but is there to help, problem solve, to be that neutral that guides your conversation and negotiation. So when we're talking about the impact of the outcome, the last thing I will just mention is that it's always going to be a negative. It's just that it may be impacted based on who you're choosing to work with.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, you've been a wealth of information for us, and I love your attitude and your passion on this topic, because you share that with me. We both care so much to find ways to protect the parents as well as the children before, during, and after divorce, so that everyone gets the best possible outcome long term. And that's the important thing for you as parents to remember, that sometimes we get so caught up in the divorce process, we forget that that's a very small piece of the puzzle. You have a divorce and ultimately it ends. Then you move into the co-parenting experience, which is the rest of your life, hopefully. And you want it to be a positive, smooth, cooperative experience for your benefit, and especially for the benefit of the children you love, so that the children can go on and live their lives without having to be worried about their parents or scarred by the divorce process. So starting off the divorce in the best light is going to ease the way into giving your entire family the best outcome for co-parenting and continuing to be a family and continuing to have love and respect for one another through the various challenges that are after the divorce, and in finding other relationship partners, watching your children grow and graduate from school and move on in life, and all of those wonderful experiences that we want ahead for you. You want to start with the best foundation so that you can move ahead in the best possible way. And I want to thank you so much, Abbie. You've been just a joy to talk to and so knowledgeable. Do you have in just a minute, a way of concluding your information for us?
Just a huge thank you back. I love connecting with fellow professionals like you, who we all share this passion so much, that you're helping me spread my message and passion, because I think everyone should know about this. And I kind of dark joke, but it's kind of like the best kept secret. And I don't want it to be a secret. I want everyone to know. So I just thank you for the work you do, for the behind the scenes championing you're doing, and for spreading the message on your show so that it can reach even wider audiences.
Well,
And to the listeners, just really, I encourage you, if you have no idea before this episode what mediation is about, explore it further, reach out, connect with resources, me, Rosalind, whoever, and really learn about it and how it can best help you and your situation.
so well said. Thank you so much, Abbie Godles. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And thank you all for joining me today for the Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living webinar. We look forward to having you join me again. And remember that you could access the Child-Centered Divorce Network at childcentereddivorce.com at any time. And I look forward to talking with every one of you. Bye-bye for now.